Welcome to part 4 of the famous tutorials. So in the last part 3, we had created a simple scene, and if you run it, you can see the scene that we had, which looks like this. Now the first thing that's wrong with this is that the image that's in the background is not resized, so we're going to fix that first. But before we do that, let's create a folder for this part, famous 4. And I'm going to copy the files from famous 3 into famous 4. So just star all the files from famous 3 and move them to famous 4. And then after we have all the files there, we're going to run famous dev, and again you should see the same result. So to fix the image issue, I have a file which is the correct dimensions in the assets folder. So I'll just copy that from the assets folder to public/images. Now the next thing we're going to do is, so let's see what it looks like when we run this. And it should show us the correct dimensions when we refresh. So there you have it. It's the right dimensions. Now the next thing we need to do is set the body background to be the same color as the image background. So to do this, I'm going to go over to my editor and I'll set the body background to be the same. So let's see, in my index HTML, I can copy the value from index.js. So that's the value for the background, and I can set it in the body style. So set the background color, and let's refresh to see if that's the right color. Yeah, so there, that's the right color. And now we're going to add an animation. So the first thing to add an animation that we need is the asset for the animation. So I'm going to copy the asset called plane underscore 100x100.png to the public images folder. And what we'll do is we'll set a position component on this plane. So first, to make the plane visible, I can just use the same method which I use for the buildings, and say add child, custom node, plane underscore 100x100, and the initial position that I want to give it is 200 200, and the plane's dimensions are 100x100, so 100x100. So there, if I refresh that, so now we have a plane. Now notice that the background of the plane is interrupting the background image. So to avoid that, I can create a new node called moving node, and I'm going to not set the background color on that node. So I can create a new file called moving node.js, and it's going to look the same as custom node, but instead of the background color being set, I just remove that line. So now if I go to index.js and I initialize plane using the constructor for moving node and make sure that I have the require line for moving node as well. And this way the plane should not have a background that interrupts the background. So now you can see the plane is not interrupting the background. Okay, so the next step is to make the plane move. So we're going to use something called a position component. So I can say var position component equals new position, and this position is using transitionables to make the plane move. So here what we can do, but by the way, we need to pass the plane into the constructor, and we have to say dot set, and here we can give it the values that we want, which in this case is the x position, the y position, and then the z position, and then we can set the duration, and we'll say it's 500, and we need the curve. So to get the curve, I'm just going to refer to a snippet that I have. So let's see, window event listener. Yeah, so the curve is going to be out quad. Now, because the snippet actually works for us, I'm just going to reuse that. So here the position component is now set to 200, 500, 200. My editor is being strange. So 500, 200, and here I can set the duration to be 1000. So this is the easing curve that we're using, which is out quad. And notice that I wrapped it inside a event listener for the right arrow key on the keyboard. So let's run this. And now if I press right arrow, it's saying key codes not defined. So I can import key codes using var key codes equals require famous slash utility slash key codes. And if I run that, it's saying position is not defined, so I can import position. Yeah, so now if I hit the right arrow, the plane should animate, which it does. We can make the animation go for a longer distance by just changing the X position. Yeah, so that was the animation part of the tutorial, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.